there. This. Do this. Okay. Okay, that did that. Hey, Alexander. Good morning. There is a small delay from what I see on YouTube. Morning. And let me just mute this so that I don't hear myself talking. All right, I think we're gonna wait a little bit, another, let's say, a few more minutes, 4 or 5 minutes or something like that, and we can definitely start. Hey, Rude, good morning. Hey, in case you were wondering, I also have it here. Haha. Made you all jealous now. All right. I hope everybody had or is having a lovely weekend. Yeah, definitely. It's a nice weekend. Nice to wake up late for me. I don't know, Alexander. I don't know if it's thermal printing. I bought it from the store. Um, it was ages back when I bought this shirt and the mug. There is a company called Printify or something like that, Printly or something like that, and one of our friends, Tien, from um, where is he? He's somewhere in Thailand, Philippines, somewhere down there. He's helping us with the store. So he connected, believe it or not, a WordPress WooCommerce installation that we have in the store.phalconphp.com. And he connected it to that service. So then you can go there and just say, okay, I want a mug or I want a t-shirt or whatever. And what they do is they take our logo and they print it on shirts, and then you just sending it. Rude, sorry to hear that, buddy, but you're supposed to be on vacation, as far as I know. So you're not supposed to be watching streams. But anyway, all right. Well, we're gonna give this a couple more minutes. 12:05. We're gonna start. People that are hello, Komi. People that are not going to be here live, they can watch the stream later on. So yeah, we got quite a few things to talk about today. So I'm very anxious to get started. Hey, Sergey. Hey, Izo. Nice to see you, buddy. In case people don't remember, Izo is one of our really vocal members of the community. He definitely has really good opinions about things, and we love him for it. Hey, Pedro. Hello from Portugal. Hello to Portugal, rather, from the US. And I guess we're pretty much a global community. I see Rude is somewhere in Europe in holidays. Alexander, I don't know where you are, buddy. I'm guessing Europe-ish. We got Thailand. We got Tag from UK, Portugal again. Way to go, guys. Hey, I'm the only one in the US. What's up with that? So maybe I'm in the wrong place. I should move to Europe, right? Hey, Alexander from Ukraine. Salute to everybody. All right. Yes, I'm still bright. Thank you so much, my friend. You keep on rubbing it because I don't have any Amstel. So that's so nice of you. Okay, let me grab my little presentation here. Just put it into a different tab. And share my screen. And I'll share. Hold on. Where is it? This? No. I gotta cancel this. All right, I just need one moment. I need to share the screen. Which window am I supposed to be sharing? This one. All right. There you go. So present. Yeah, kind of. All right, let me switch this back to the chat so that we can see. Hello, Ihor. Denmark also, Andreas. Volkan from Turkey. And yeah, I moved to Europe. All right, there was a reason why I moved to the US, buddy. So, and I was supposed to have the presentation from the beginning. Sorry about that, guys. Oh, there you go. All right, let's start. This is our second community hangout, and thank you, Rude. Have a beer on us, on me or whatever, because I know Amstel is widely available in Europe, not here. So anyway, enough with the beer. Welcome to everybody for our second hangout of this year. As promised, we're going to have a hangout at the last Saturday of every month, just trying to gauge what is going on with the community, what are your needs, how we can help you, also offer you information about what is going on with Phalcon, the problems that we're facing, the progress that we're making, and so on and so forth. So for today, this is the agenda. We published it on our blog post earlier this week. We have the introduction. Welcome to everybody again. We cannot say this enough. Thank you to all of the contributors, even those that are just posting, hey, I found this problem. Hey, I've got this idea. We're going to have an update from last month, what happened in the last 30 days, the current status of Phalcon and Zephir, other projects that we have for documentation for version 4, the Devtools, incubators, and so on and so forth. Would like the input of the community for the latest redesign that we did on our websites. The main site will be redesigned. It hasn't been done yet. And we have two requests from the community from last Hangout, how to unit test a Phalcon-based PHP application, how to unit test in Phalcon, zephir files. I don't know if I'm going to have enough time to do the last one, but definitely we're going to show you how to unit test a PHP application written with Phalcon. But, you know, time permitting, we can definitely dive into that. So, as always, huge thank you to our awesome community. If anybody's interested, the first one, the first link is showing how many people contributed, and don't get discouraged by the numbers that you will see there. For instance, Sergey and yes, Sergey, I was thinking about that. I have to flip the logo. Our logo, the bird is pointing on the right. It's not on the left. I don't remember where I got that logo, but yeah, I have to do that. So there are some links here for you guys to follow. These are our links. Feel free to follow us on any of the social media. And a small request from me, my personal Facebook account, I don't usually post that stuff, and I usually follow things that are happening here in the US. So it's better to follow the framework page if you want to contact me. And also, sorry about the kiddos screaming upstairs or crying. And also one thing to note, I usually hang out on Discord, so you got a better chance of contacting me there than doing it on Facebook. And I'm saying this because one of our friends from Turkey tried to contact me through Facebook, and it took me kind of like a week and a half to realize that something was waiting for me there. So sorry about that. Just some thoughts. Hello from to Rudy in Portugal. Coming back to what I was saying for the first link, you might see contributors, and you might see, you know, Andres had 900 commits, blah, 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 Sergey 1,000 or whatever. It doesn't really matter the number. It always matters if you do contribute. I couldn't care less if I had 1,000 commits and somebody else had 1. That doesn't make my commits more important than somebody else's. So input is always welcome and is always appreciated. Okay. So, quick update. We have an awesome new contributor that came over, and he is part of the Zephir team. His name is Dream Xin. We call him Dream. His name, I think, is Zhu. He's from China. He's an awesome guy. He joined in Zephir. He was a really old-ish contributor of Phalcon version 1 and 2, and now he's coming back to help us. Immediately we actually saw the input that he provided, because now it's 2 and 3 people, and 4 rather, with Dan contributing in Zephir and pushing that project forward. And of course that one the benefits of having Zephir bug-free or as bug-free as possible translate to Phalcon. Recently, Cameron Hall managed to find an issue that we had with array access in Phalcon. Well, lo and behold, that issue was created in Zephir, and in case you haven't noticed, a new Zephir version was released today, 0.11.10. So thank you so much to everybody, and Dream for joining in, and to the team. We also have a new look on our docs, on our link website, the license website, and the BuiltWith. We'd like to thank our friends at O2. They are graphic designers. I believe they're in Russia, I think, or Ukraine, somewhere there. I'm sorry if I'm if I'm saying the wrong country, but they're Europe E compared to me, right? So thank you to the guys. A really awesome job. Our sites look really beautiful and crisp. Slowly, we are moving to do the same thing for the main website, and that would be our next step. Since the last Hangout, we fixed 1 high bug, 3 mediums, and 3 lows. 3 enhancements. In the meantime, we did release Alpha 2 for version 4. We had a really awesome discussion. I loved it. With regards to the ACL, I'm forgetting the names. I apologize for this, but it was purely community driven. A couple of people said, you know what, you renamed the AC. The problem that we had, let me backtrack here. The problem that we have is the word resource is reserved in PHP, and that causes a ton of problems with Zephir and how we generate the code. So we had to remove the word resource. Now in the ACL model, people are really used to, okay, I have a role and I have a resource. So we had to rename those. And the rename came, role became operation, and resource became subject. Okay, so that went in. It was in V4. And then a couple of members of the community turned around and said, well, you know what? This doesn't work for me. It causes too much confusion, blah, blah, blah. So an effort started from the community. We had votes. We had a lot of discussion. And in the end, what the community wanted was we kept role as is. So role still remains role. And the word resource was renamed component. So now instead of having roles and resources, we have roles and components. So kudos to the guys that started this initiative. And, you know, we always listen to you guys. If it's something reasonable and we can accommodate that, we will definitely do that all the time. We also introduced a new filter service. I mentioned that in the previous Hangout, I believe. But it's a kind of like a new approach with service locators. This is a pattern where you locate the service that you want to do, and you split your component into much, much smaller components, and you lazy load all of them. And this helps with memory consumption, and it makes the code much, much smaller and easier to comprehend. We introduced a lot of sanitizers. Sanitizer and filter are used pretty much in the same context. A sanitizer is something that would sanitize the data, meaning, let's say, strip tags would be a sanitizer, right? A filter is something that would transform the data. So the upper first, or the upper, or the lower, what is it? The STR to lower. That would be a filter. Now, we kind of like use both terms at the same time, so apologies for that. In reality, if I wanted to be really 100% accurate, I should have split this into 2. Have a folder called sanitizer and a folder called filters, and let's say have the STR to upper in the filters and the strip tags into the sanitizer. But you know, we merged everything in. And why not? It makes it a little bit easier for people to just use it. It's very extensible. This new thing, it does have lazy loading, and all you have to do is just create a class that would do your sanitization and call invoke, and use the word invoke. So pretty much you can call the class the way you can create a class, and then you can call it as a method. Very pumped about that. The reason is not that we redid the whole filter service. The reason is that we're starting to use service locator, and this is the groundwork for more goodies to come later on. And those goodies would be a brand new container that would be PSR compliant. The service locator would also allow us to have the groundwork ready to do auto wiring, and there's some issues in GitHub for that. So things that we do have a vision on where we want to go with version 4. And yes, version 4 is taking a lot longer to be released. That's why we keep on releasing very quick and very small versions in alpha. We did discuss about releasing alpha 3 most likely tomorrow. I have to get back with Sergey depending on our availability, family and all that stuff. But this is the plan. Alpha 3 is going to be coming out in the next couple of days. All right. So more on that. The current status. We have 18 open PRs. Some of these PRs, some of these pull requests are really old, and it's difficult for us to extract the code and point it to the right folder, to the right branch rather. Some of them are for the V3 branches, which we're not actively maintaining. We're not introducing any new features. The goal is to actually bring them down to 0 so that whenever a PR comes in from a member of the community or from a member of the team, we address it rather quickly and we release that immediately to be available in the repository in the relevant branch. We have 134 open issues. The bulk of those, well over 90%, are new feature requests. There was a discussion about how about let's vote on these feature requests. Let's put them all on a board or something, and then the community can actually say, hey, I'm really interested in this particular NFR. I would like to see these first. And you just go with the top-down approach. The NFRs that get the most votes get addressed first, and then you keep on moving until you address pretty much everything, unless this is an NFR that would definitely detriment the framework in terms of performance or doesn't follow the philosophy of Phalcon. I've seen this before in comments on GitHub. People do forget that Phalcon is really not Laravel. I mean, Laravel does do certain things the way they do them and great to them, but that doesn't necessarily that those implementations are going to be good for Phalcon. And I just brought an example here, right? Nothing against Laravel, of course. So this is the plan. I wrote down in a spreadsheet all the NFRs that exist in the framework and in the repository. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to close all the NFRs, and I'm going to create one issue where I'm going to post every single one NFR that we have as of now with a number right next to it. And then I'm going to invite the community to start voting on those. Which one would you like to see first? Well, I'd like to see 1 and 5 and 3 or whatever. So that would give us a good indication of what the community wants. I don't know of a good voting system online. So if anybody has any ideas, I'd be more than happy to entertain it. My thought process was, if we have everything in GitHub, then people can easily click the link and see what the NFR was about, right? So Also, we have one for the current project. We have 1 high bug, 6 medium, and 3 lows. That's pretty much where we're gonna be focusing to just completely trim all the bugs and everything else. We have 9 NFRs and 6 enhancements in the current build as it goes. One thing I'd like to ask a favor for everybody: if you can actually go to GitHub and find the RFC for the queue. RFC, for those that don't know, it's request for comments. So we'd like input. The problem that we have with a queue is that the Phalcon queue, yeah, the final call will be done by the core team, but you know, we're not kind of like dictators. We actually move us to where the community wants us to move. It's definitely a community-driven project, and yeah, we all have a vision, but this is something that if we listen to the community enough, then we're gonna get a solution that would satisfy a good amount of the community. Definitely not satisfy everybody, but it will satisfy most of them. So tag for the RFC is for a queue system. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be Redis or Nats or anything, or Rabbit or whoever. The background on this is that the queue system, the Phalcon queue, was based on Beanstalk, and Beanstalk has been pretty much abandoned. It's dead for quite a long time. Yeah, people do use it, but there's very little support, if any. So there's no point in maintaining something like that. It's part of our cleanup going towards forward with much cleaner and very well maintained code. So there was an issue, and there's a PR out there that removes pretty much Beanstalk and the queue system completely from Phalcon v4. And once that was done, that's great. But we would like to see something that would help the community in terms of their queuing needs. Now, there have been arguments that, you know, a queue is something totally different. Phalcon would not help you for this. In the queue, it will just do a call, and that's it. It's the same as, for instance, to give you an example, it's the same as when you're saying, oh, I want to build a mail functionality in Phalcon. You're not going to gain any performance if you build this mail system, because mail depends primarily on the network latency between computer A and computer B. So if your mail component is slow, it doesn't mean that it is from Phalcon. It means that your latency is slow, your network is slow. And the same thing with a queue. But what we wanted to do is we wanted to have a discussion started where we could offer a component that, an adapter, if you like, that people can use as a blueprint, and then we can have different things coming in, possibly through the incubator, that would use that interface, and then lo and behold, all you have to do is just put in a new adapter and you're good to go. Now, we did a little bit of research, and as you will see in the issue, there is a team of guys in GitHub that they created a queue interop. So they created this system with that common interface. Imagine it is similar to PSR, but it's not PSR. It's not. It doesn't come from PHP Fig. And these guys created this interface where you use that, and then there's implementations for various things, for Redis, for I think I saw AmpQ or something like that. So I did email the lead of that project to see if we can translate, if you like, their code into Zephir, so that we can build a module that can be loaded right after PSR and before Phalcon, and taking that, use those interfaces to offer this functionality for the users. for the developers rather. So any comment is more than welcome. That was just an idea. Would like to hear your opinion on how this module, how this component should evolve. Okay. An update on PSR 7. So all the factories are done for the PSR. So the request factory, response factory, blah, blah, blah. The stream, the uploaded file, and the URI are completely done. They have very close to 100% code coverage. There's some weird exceptions or something that I don't know how to write code to cover those, but that's beside the point. Everything that the RFCs and everything that PSR 7 dictates that you should do has already been done for those components. So my current focus is the server request. That's what I'm writing on. I'm using TDD, test-driven development. So I first write the tests and then I write the code. It's very interesting, very elaborate, but that allows us to have really, really well-tested code. And we're gonna offer quality components to you guys. Request and response, I just have the stubs of the interface there. I have not implemented a lot of things in there. It's just few, but I still need tests to write, okay? So that's the current status as of now. Also, good. I repeated the slide. Excellent. So coming to the bottom of the bullets here, what I mentioned earlier, I'm using the RFC as a guide. Is it RFC or a mistook that? Anyway, I'm using the whatever PSR says as a guide, right? And I'm adding more and more tests. And the current status is we got 296 tests, 296 assertions, and 57 skip tests. The tests that are skipped are the ones that I have not implemented yet. So I'm taking one of the skip tests, I'm implementing what the test should do, and then I'm going into the code, implementing the code, and then building it again, and then doing the same thing, everything, the same thing again and again. The namespace is Phalcon HTTP message right now. I did not want to interfere with the current response request and anything else. I just wanted to be on the same namespace. In future versions, V5 most likely, we can discuss as a community whether we're going to remove the message and bring the components one namespace higher. But for now, it's going to be there. And a little screenshot from CodeCov is what happens every single time I send that commit up and Travis starts putting it. I love seeing this little green that I added 0.05% more code coverage. So our code coverage on Phalcon is around 66%. We're trying as much as possible, and slowly, it will take time to hit the 70s and then 80s and then 90s if we can, right? So other projects that we've been working on. We created a brand new section in the V4 documents called the upgrade section. And in there, we're going to have all the steps necessary for somebody upgrading a V3 application to a V4. The screenshot on the right shows you a small sample of what the upgrade section looks like. So for instance, for the filter component, the status is that you are going to need to do some changes. And it also has the link to the usage of how you use that component. And then underneath, it's going to give you more and more examples. Now, if you do go to, if you do click that link that you see filter documentation and you go into the filter, you're going to see on the right below the search, a little box that says upgrade instructions and edit on GitHub. So any page that describes a component in Phalcon, in our V4 documentation, that requires changes from from V3 will actually show you that upgrade instructions link. And this way you can go to the documentation, look at something, and oh, you know, I have a legacy application, if you like, a V3 application. Let me see what I need to do to upgrade my application. So we're trying to make this as easy as possible for people to find the information that that is required. For the incubator, I know that there is work done on Mongo, primarily from the community. We have not seen all the work done. One of the members of the community has been, was it Vicus or, sorry, I'm really bad with names. He said that he pretty much did everything in terms of the new MongoDB adapter. If you recall, the new MongoDB driver, rather, if you recall, we had to remove Mongo because the driver we were using was something like 5 years old and it was deprecated. And sorry about the printer, it just decided to start printing. So the goal is, once that particular piece of code ends up in the incubator, we're just going to port it to Phalcon in order to still offer the ODM functionality to the community. For those that were freaking out and screaming, "Oh, the sky's falling," the remove Mongo from Phalcon issue that is still in our project. Yes, Sergey, I'm going to get to that. I was going to say that. That was to remove the old driver. It wasn't meant to remove the whole ODM out of Phalcon. Phalcon will still have the ODM for Mongo. Now, speaking of also Devtools, finding here, it needs love. It needs a lot of love. Now, this is a call for action. And again, sorry for the printer. I don't control it. The people upstairs print. If anybody has time in the community and the energy and the effort, we would very much welcome contributions and maintenance for the Devtools and the incubator. This is pure PHP code. It has nothing to do with this is nothing to do with what you call it, with Zephir or C or anything like that. So if you are interested in helping with that, more than welcome to contribute there. Okay, Hugo, hold on a second, my friend. I need to get the translator. I don't speak Spanish, so hold on. Let's see. How viable is to go from Cumbia to Phalcon? It is not that difficult. I remember that Cumbia uses the same MVC pattern as Phalcon does, or Zen Framework. So it would not be that difficult for you to move your application from Cumbia to Phalcon. If you want help, come and join us on the Discord server, and there is also Spanish and Portuguese channels there, and you can go and talk to your native tongue, not have to talk to English, and I'm pretty sure we can help you migrate your project if that's what you want to do. Okay. I hope I was slow enough for him to understand. Sorry, guys. I only speak Greek and some German and English. So, all right. Like, new look. Yay. Okay, so we'd like to thank our friends from Odva Pro, the O2 guys. They created a really beautiful design for our websites. It's really great. It's mobile friendly and all that stuff. Our documentation for the content and the translations, huge thanks to everybody that has been translating the documents. in their native tongue. And also a huge thanks to Crowden for managing that translation effort. Also, Algolia, we cannot thank these guys enough. They offered us a free search for the V4 version, which is also language aware. So whatever language you are, that's what you're going to be searching for. And you can easily see it if you go to the V4 documentation. You start typing something in the search box, you're going to see the little context menu that comes in. The same Algolia also powers the search for our blog, and we're building now search for our BuiltWith website. The license website and the link website also have been ported to the new look. In case you guys have not heard, license is just a simple page that shows the license that governs Phalcon PHP. We also have the license for PHP and the license for Send. For those that are interested, it's just there for information, nothing else. Link is the phalcon.link website, which we use as a URL shortener. And honestly, I don't remember our Facebook page. It's a really long URL, so all I do is just go phalcon.link/FB, and that's pretty much it. Same thing with Twitter, Gab, MeWe, and so on and so forth. So these sites have had a redesign. Same thing with a blog. For those that are following the blog, you have noticed it. All of a sudden, boof, it came up as a new website. I'm pretty sure it surprised quite a few people. Thank you to Algolia again for powering the search for our blog, and also powering the search for the BuiltWith website that should be coming in today. In case people did not know, we do have this website called builtwith.phalconphp.com, and it actually showcases projects that have been built with Phalcon. You can add a tag, let's say Phalcon 3 or tests or open source or any tag that you want to this website. You can submit pictures of your website. You can submit a small description of what it's done. You can link it, and so on and so forth. We're trying to showcase different implementations for different websites. This project started way back, many years ago. It never got a lot of love. We did have a lot of projects. Hey, Emilio, welcome. We did get a lot of projects, but then it kind of like died, meaning that nobody would submit anything. And it was a V2 version, or maybe V3 or something. So instead of rewriting it, we moved it to Netlify and Jekyll. And now all you have to do, if you want to submit a project, create a pull request. There's really clear instructions as to how to. Yes, we bought a new design for the forum. We need to implement that too. Yeah, the forum needs quite a bit of love too. So feel free, if you have projects that you can share. I mean, your clients, if your clients can share the project or want to, we'd be more than happy to have it there. On the topic of BuiltWith and sharing projects, I'd like to thank Rude for offering us a success story in our very recent article, with an implementation that is not very common, on how Phalcon helped a carpentry factory. And that was really cool to see, having Phalcon communicate with Raspberry Pis and showing tasks and screens and all that stuff. That is not a normal application the way we think about it. So I'd like to invite anybody that has had a success story with either your own applications or your clients to send us a quick email or reach out to us on Discord. The email is team@phalconphp.com. With your success story, I would be more than happy to post it in the blog. Okay. And thank you, Max. That is awesome that you're picking up the Spanish part for me. So these are some links on what we've been using. All right, I'm just leaving them here for everybody to use if you want to. The slides, of course, are going to be available in a blog post after this Hangout, as well as the Hangout link. Okay. So, unless somebody has any questions in the chat, I'd like to go through how do we test in Phalcon. So we have an application, and that application uses Phalcon. So how can we write tests for our code? As with, let me start with this before I look at the chat. With any framework, the idea of using a framework is that somebody else did the testing for you. So let's say you're using Phalcon, or you're using Symfony or Laravel or whoever, right? Those frameworks, those pieces of code that are offered to you in order to use as a tool, they all have unit tests. So the assumption is always that the unit test covered that framework, so all I have to do is cover my code. Okay, so this particular slide is whether you want to test something that you wrote, despite the fact that it has Phalcon commands or Phalcon methods or Phalcon classes. We assume that Phalcon has been tested, all right? And we're trying to not have any bugs in there, but it's nearly impossible. Okay, so I'm gonna pause for just a little bit, give the viewers a chance to ask any questions if you guys have. So go ahead. And I'm gonna drink a little bit of coffee. Salud. Stop this. The camera is too hot. Here. There you go. Hi, everybody. Yes. Yes, and yes. Okay. So quickly, Pedro. Pedro is asking about since Phalcon is an extension, it would be nice to have Swool integrated with it. Swool is a different extension, right? So you have to look at things how they should be loaded or will be loaded. So right now, v4, you need to have PSR loaded before Phalcon. And also, you need to have PDO loaded before Phalcon. Okay. So these two have to be there. Now, if Phalcon creates a wrapper, because that's the only thing that we can create, is a wrapper for Swool to take advantage of what Swool can offer, then Swool has to be loaded before Phalcon. So that's going to make things a little bit tricky. Honestly, I do not see personally, and this is just me, right? I do not see the benefit of creating a wrapper in Phalcon to use Swool. And here's why. Let's say you start with an application. You want to take advantage of the asynchronous features that Swool has to offer, right? The coroutine and all that stuff. Now, nothing stops you in your code from creating all the steps that the Swool extension needs, and also using in there some Phalcon code, right? So you can use all the coroutine methodology that Swool offers and just use Phalcon somewhere there. If you start using Phalcon as a wrapper to Swool, and then Phalcon will be calling Swool and all that stuff, you're pretty much introducing one more layer onto Swool, which will be Phalcon, before it gets executed by your PHP code. So the less layers you have, the better it is. Now, full disclosure, I did email one of the lead developers of Swool, just ask him if he wanted to come and join or help us with Zephir. And my next email was going to be to find some sort of collaboration between Swool and Phalcon, because both are focused on speed and performance. I never heard back from them, so we'll see. So that's the question for that. I'm not saying no to that kind of integration, but we have to see the benefits of going down this route. I would very much prefer to see something coming through the incubator, so that we can gauge how useful this would be for the community, rather than allocating resources to build something and then nobody uses it. Okay. Yes, Amelia, it's a new haircut, and I did shave, but it grows back again, unfortunately. So, hello, Sumit. Roadmap for this year. Roadmap for this year is the V4 version. To get it out of and into the world, get as much feedback as possible. You're more than welcome to go to the project. This is the project, Sumit. You're more than welcome to have a look at it. This is what we have for now. And I'm guessing it will take quite a few months until we get to the fully stable version of V4. And from then on, once V4 is out, it's going to take us a long time until, and this is deliberate, until we have the ecosystem, the whole developers, slowly moving and then porting their applications or creating new applications to V4. With V4, we have a lot of structural changes. And it's always build a structure because you have a vision of what you want to do in the future. Right now, this future is kind of like clear to me of where I would like to go. I would like Phalcon to become as fast as possible and as easy as possible. This is why I didn't say no to when members suggested that our container should be rewritten and it should take the auto wire approach, just like Symfony does. I think Laravel does the same thing. Pretty sure Zen Framework has something similar. So what you would do is when you create new components and you throw them into your DI container, if those components rely on other components, the other components will be automatically injected into your component. That's pretty much the gist of it. The reason I was hesitant initially about that is because it's a performance killer. It uses reflection in order to find what needs to be injected and so on and so forth. But there's also caching that we can utilize. So, I got convinced about that. But in order for us to go down that route, we have to have a structure first before everything gets built. So that's pretty much the roadmap. We need to get V4 out, and then we're going to spend a good amount of time moving things forward. There was also, don't forget, there was also the discussion about changing the pattern that we use for our database, for our ORM, change it from active record to data mapper. So that's another thing that we will be investigating, and hopefully keeping both implementations at the same time until we get really good metrics on which one is the faster one. All right, so that one was for Sumit. David, I was struggling to figure out how to configure unit test and work with Visual Studio. From Visual Studio. Okay, so you use Visual Studio, David, for programming in PHP or anything else? So David, let me know. I don't understand. Yes, Rude has posted the link for the success story about the carpentry, and if anybody wants him, Max, what I did was just use it as okay. All right, people are drinking beer. What's up with that, man? So there you go, the Phalcon mug. And yes, Sergey, this one is pointing to the wrong section. I should have had it pointing that way. All right, okay. So David, okay, I'm gonna say something heretic here. I don't use Windows. I don't like them, so no Visual Studio for me. But here's the thing: with any environment, you have to figure out the most difficult thing that you will have when you're setting up your environment is how things get auto loaded, right? How can you simulate your site running or your project running when you're writing your tests, right? So for you, David, or any Windows users, because that's pretty much the gist here. The key is how are you going to load the extension with XAMPP, with WAMP, or with what was the other one that caddy server or whatever you're going to use, that you will have Phalcon loaded. Now, bear in mind, some of the tests that you will have are gonna be tests that will use your web server, and some of the tests that you will have are tests that are going to use the CLI. So you have two PHP implementations there, and Phalcon has to be loaded in both for them to be tested. Okay. So that is an issue because Phalcon is a module loaded in memory. That has to be in memory before you start running your tests. In the case of Laravel or any other framework that you pull in using Composer, your system does not need that requirement, because through the autoloader, it will go and locate whatever file it needs to load for whatever class you're trying to test. So that's the thing that you have to bear in mind. Now, I have not done this in Linux, in Windows, but what I would suggest is have a look at Nanobox. And the reason I'm saying keep on touting Nanobox, is because it allows you to have a development environment in your computer, one per application. So you could potentially create an environment there with VirtualBox or with Docker, and then that environment will be ready. We'll have your Phalcon in there. We'll have all your tools, and then you can run your tests straight up. Just a thought. I mean, the reason I keep on saying this about Nanobox is because for me it has saved me so much time. It's not even funny. And we also use it at work. We also use it for deployments as well. So have a look at that. Unfortunately, I cannot help more on that with regards to Visual Studio and Windows installations and stuff like that. Okay, so okay, yeah, sure. If you get the video, hit us up on come on, Discord, and we'll have a look at it. And yes, there is the VS Code plugin for Zephir, and also for Zephir, there's there's a PHP Storm plugin as well, so you can use that. And you can use also the ID stubs repository with PHP Storm to get autocomplete and all that, right? Sure, anytime. Okay, so unit testing. Unless anybody else has any questions, I'm just going to dive a little bit into that, just to show you how we do certain things. Hi, Mehdi. Yes, this comes with, this is probably a bug, what you're mentioning there, the scaffold command in the Devtools, or, okay, message retracted. It doesn't matter. Oh, okay, the scaffold command cannot create a complete admin panel like relations. This is most likely a bug with the Devtools, and as I mentioned earlier, I don't know if you were around, the Devtools do really need quite a bit of love. We haven't worked on that particular project for quite a while. Our focus was solely on getting Phalcon and Zephir sorted out. That's why we kind of like split our tasks. So Sergey is mostly set up on Zephir, and I'm mostly set up on Phalcon. And this is what I was saying earlier. If anybody has any time and wants to actually help fix those bugs with the Devtools, absolutely. And then once V4 is out, the plan in my head anyway, I hadn't expressed this, was to create a much better and much friendlier Devtools for users. Not that our Devtools are bad, but they're not as good as they should be. So definitely that's a bug, Mehdi. You could try and do things by hand, by reading a little bit the documentation. You could also open a bug in the Devtools repository, and hopefully one of the members of the community will actually look into that and send a PR. Because honestly, I'm honest with you guys now. I cannot devote any time on the Devtools, right? So yeah, that's that. All right. So let me share my PHP Storm, and as my friend Cameron would say, wow, that screen. So let me maximize it. All right. Sure, no problem, Mehdi. So I have a Phalcon application, and guys, by all means, this is not the stop of the Q&A. If you have a question, just ask it. I'm sorry about the screen. It might not be as good as you would like it. I would suggest, if you're watching through YouTube, hover on the area that you're displaying and click on the gear icon on the bottom bar, and on the quality you can actually click on it. Instead of auto, you can hit 720 for much better quality, so that you can actually see the screen a little bit crispier or something. So for the unit tests, what I did is I actually cloned the Phalcon-API repository. It's a repository that we have. It's an effort that started a few months ago, and we just wanted to show people what one could do with an API. It's not the best implementation. It's not the worst implementation. It is one implementation. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be good for your application, or it's not going to be good. The way we develop should always come from the requirements of our applications. And this was just one implementation. It's to actually show what you can do, right? So Building this application, of course, I'm talking about Nanobox all the time. To set up the environment, I use Nanobox, and this is the file. So I said, okay, I want PHP 7.2. My document root would be /API/public. You can see it here. And then, of course, in the Nanobox, I did set up certain certain settings for PHP, you know, to disable certain functions, to display all the errors, and so on and so forth. And the more you go down, you just set up what you need. Setting up Nanobox is really easy, guys. Go for it if you have a few minutes to spare. Set up my sessions where they would be used, although I've never used sessions in this particular implementation. It's an API after all, but anyway, set up different extensions, set up extensions for the live environment versus the development. Whatever has a dev at the front is just for your development environment, and you can use Nanobox just for developing on your local machine, nothing else. You will have to create an account so that you can download the file that you need to, and you will have to log in from the terminal. But after that, there's nothing else you need to do. There's nothing for you to pay. It's completely free. So going further down, different services that we will use, we're going to use memcached. We're going to use MySQL 5.7, and that's pretty much it, right? So these were the dependencies of the Phalcon API. And when I wanted to start the environment so that I can have something, I would just type Nanobox run. Now I do see bring back Vagrant. Actually, Nanobox does can use either Docker as a backend or VirtualBox. So you could have a Vagrant E kind of way to store that. Now you're not gonna have a whole box as we used to have it. Those things, honestly, they required a lot of maintenance from us. And I'm not saying this to complain, but we never had any help on those packages. So that's why we decommissioned them. So if I type Nanobox run, it will start running my environment, and there you go. Here I am. So I am in a Linux container. My local source code has been mounted in the container. So anything I type here, and you can see the IP, the address of the server, right? So if I run something here, you're going to see a list. You're going to see exactly the same listing that I have at the top on PHP Storm. So how can I run any test here, right? First things first, I need to decide what my testing environment would be, what my testing framework rather would be. And if we take a peek in the composer.json file, then we're going to see that the framework of choice for Phalcon is Codeception. There are multiple reasons for that. The first and foremost is that Sergey is a member of Codeception, and Michael Bondarchuk, who created Codeception, is a very good friend, and he's always there to help us. But joking aside, Codeception has a Phalcon module. Immediately, you get access to your application without having to worry about crazy stuff. All you have to do is just a simple bootstrap, and then voila, you got everything. Plus, it has an extremely awesome and fluent interface where you can actually type things as commands just the way you talk. So for instance, you could type in I see element, or I see in source, I am in page, I see current URL is, or something like that. So it makes it much easier for people to really see what they're doing, and to read code without having to read the use case, rather than having to figure out what this crazy thing that we're doing there. So in my composer, I have Codeception. I have also PHP Stan and then some other stuff. So I started building this API, and all I need to do is just figure out what to test and how to test. All right. So in this particular implementation, just to note, I never knew the terminology, how things were named. Apparently, the pattern that I used here is similar to ADR, and ADR stands for, hold on, I don't remember. Action Domain Responder. That's what it stands for. So pretty much you're splitting your domain, where things happen, and you have responders. You just have a simple response, and also you have the messaging or something, message handler, something like that, some sort of a pattern. So in layman's terms, because that's what I'm used to, I don't remember patterns. Yeah, I know, David. The idea is that when you write an API, let's say you have your orders, right? Somebody wants to have orders for their accounting system. Usually what you would do is you would have an orders controller or an orders handler, and in there you would have, let's say, list, add, view, delete, and all that, right? Well, the traditional way of doing it is that you dump all your methods in there and you do all your logic. Well, lo and behold, you're going to end up with, a few thousand lines of code if you want to encapsulate everything in there. My approach was different. The approach was, let me create one component, one controller per action, right? So, okay, Doug. This is how I build it, right? It doesn't mean that it's the best solution. It doesn't mean that it's a wrong solution. It means that it is a solution, and you guys decide based on your application needs whether you want to follow this or you don't, or half and half. So as you can see here, for the companies, I'm just saying, right? I have an add controller and a get controller. Now the names are arbitrary. The prefix is what matters. It could have been add handler and get handler. It doesn't matter. So if I add one of these, I just have one method, one class rather, that has only one method, and the method is called call. And through my router, I just call the call action, this one. So the router just sends you here in the company's add if you're doing an add in the companies, or it sends you in the company's get if you're doing a get for a company. So that was the idea behind it. And apparently this is a pattern documented. It's not only ADR, but it's also some sort of a message something. But pretty much you're splitting your code into much smaller chunks, right? Now, so let's have a look here. So how do we test this thing, right? I mean, this is my code here, and I create a new validator. I validate what has been posted in here. I just do all these crazy things around here, and how do I test it? Well, in the true test-driven development, you should have written the test before you written the code. That should. But we're in the real world. We don't fly. We're not in Mars or something like that. Developers tend to write code before they write tests. So, and it's difficult to do it the other way around. So here's what we did here. All right. First things first. Remember I mentioned that Codeception has a Phalcon module, and it can actually hook up to your Phalcon. Yeah, I know. We test as an afterthought. Way to go, Tag. You pretty much said it. So Codeception has a module, and you can actually hook that up, and then Codeception communicates with your application in no time. So it's pretty simple to do that. So first things first, let's say the unit tests, right? So you start with the unit test suite, the XML file, and you're saying what you would like to have in there. So first of all, we put a module called assert so that I can have the ability to assert whether something is something else. So you can have assert equals, assert true, assert false, and so on and so forth. So for tag, code worked, why should we test it? Oh, there's a bug. Okay, well, I guess I'll write a test. I've seen this before. All I can say to this is if you don't have tests, how confident are you that your deployment is going to work? If you are in the point where you're saying, yep, this is going to work, I'm perfectly fine, great. But if you're one of those people that deploys and then says, oh, please let the phone not ring, then you need to start writing tests. All right. So anyway, so for the unit tests, I want to have access to the file system, different file system commands, and I want assertions. And this helper unit is kind of like a little custom add-on that I can write different things that I would like to have in my tests, kind of like extending the framework. All right. For the integration tests, pretty much the same thing. For the CLI suite, oops, you see here, there's my Phalcon module. Coffee, yay. So this is pretty much, as you can see, how you can get Codeception to work with your Phalcon integration. All you have to do is just create this Bootstrap CLI file, and that file will return an application object back, your application object back, and that's it. That's all you need. And after that, Codeception just goes to work, right? And as you will see, I have exactly the same, kind of like similar rather, into my API. So I have my assertions, I have my helper. I inject also the helper integration because I want database functionality there. But I also have another module called REST, and that one depends on Phalcon. And the REST module allows me to quickly inspect JSON objects and do JSON and do API requests and responses. So so once this setup has been done, and whoever wants it, the repository is there. You can actually look at it, look at how this thing is set up very quickly. Again, we're on Discord. Feel free to ask. I believe we do have a test channel. We can just divert all the questions about testing there. You know, all you need to do is just start writing tests, right? So when you see the unit folder here, let's say I need to test something, and the unit test, if you recall, is testing one component as a little black box, something that doesn't depend on anything else. It's just a tiny bit, the smallest test you can write. So we have certain functions here, and that we've written and just put them in there. So just open one of the tests, and you're trying to find whether the app path here, this method, is correct, or the env value is correct, or something like that. Okay. So these are tests, and you can see the ease. The actual object your tester is called I, so you can actually read it out loud. So I assert equals that this path is that path. So if I am to run it, oops. So all I have to do is codecept tests init config, right? So if I run this, it's going to show me exactly what is done. And I use the -VVV flag because I just wanted you to see all the output. here, and it tells you very verbosely what happened. All right, so you're looking at this signature, and then you're looking at this, and it says I assert that /app equals /app, and then it passed, and then the next one assert that this is that, and so on and so forth. One thing to note about Nanobox is the minute Nanobox loads, I forgot to tell you about this, guys. The minute it loads, it all automatically updates your composer in your project. So Codeception is available right here. PHP Stan is available right here. Whatever I have in my composer.json file, it's going to be available right in this environment. Okay, and this environment, as I mentioned before, is completely separate with what my main machine is. This is just for this test. So quickly reading through this, I've written full projects without even running a test. Okay. All right, like 1,000 lines of code, and they're skeptical of it. I will work and really want around 100 lines. I'm amazed how it works. Well, only minor bugs. Yep, I agree. That was one way of doing it, but I've learned that it doesn't always work. So in the case that something happens, personally, I write tests. How you guys develop, it's entirely up to you. Okay. So these are my unit tests, right? If I go to the integration ones are the ones that access the database, right? So there's database connectivity, and remember that database connectivity comes from the Phalcon module. You don't have to hook up your database with Codeception. Codeception does that through the Phalcon module, so which is beauty. You don't have to do a lot of setup. So for my integration, I just write a test per table, I guess. So I just open the test, and then I say, okay, well, I'm going to validate my model, and I'm going to validate that my company's table / model has these. And there's a beautiful function here. I have model definition. So it checks whether your model does have those fields. And if for whatever reason I add a new field later on, this test will fail, and it will warn me, hey, you add a new field. Some additional tests here: validate the filters, validate relationships, and so on and so forth. I get model relationships. This is another method that was developed by us and widely available for everybody. And then you just say, all right, I'm going to validate whether I have a unique name, because my model has validators on the uniqueness of the name. All right, so each company name should be unique. And then we just do that, and then we count the messages, and then the company already exists. So different tests here that you can take advantage of. You can have a look at them, inspect them, and all that stuff. Testing some of the traits, testing some of the transformers, and I'll explain that. It's not Bumblebee and Optimus Prime, it's a different kind of transformer. And then the validation for the companies. All right, I'm going to come back to the validators in a minute. So before we move, I'd like to show you this. Where is it? So test CI, Bootstrap CI, right? Bootstrap CLI. So as you see, the bootstrap of Codeception for the Phalcon module is just returning an instance of the application. And now, yeah, granted, you will see a different class here, need and bootstrap CLI, but what this class does, when you run it, it returns you an instance of the application object. And that's the only thing that Codeception needs. And from then on, you're good to go, right? Just giving you some ideas. Everything is open source. Everything is on GitHub. So by all means, go and have a look at that. Coming back to the transformers a little bit, this project uses the fractal library. Does Phalcon code set include? No, the Phalcon module uses curl, so anything it's not going to work with Ajax calls. Anything you do is just a simple curl request, and you get the data back. Okay. If you want to use, if you want to do full browser testing and all that stuff, which is going to be slow, but you will be able to have JavaScript running, then you are going to need Selenium, potentially a container or something like that. And then you will be able to say, I am on page, blah, blah, blah. I wait for 1 second just to let JavaScript run. And then I see this or whatever other things that you need to do. Okay. For the purposes of the API, because it's an API, it doesn't have any JavaScript stuff. This is perfect. You just hook the codeception with the Phalcon module, and then you're off running. Plus, you have the REST module. So I'll show you in a minute a few tests on how you can utilize the REST module. So coming back to the transformers, what I was saying is that I've used the PHP the league / fractal, that package, for creating the payload that I need to send back to whoever asks for my API or whoever asks whatever resources. And the way that thing works is that you have it gets a collection. You have a collection of records, whether it's an array or result set collection or anything like that. And then inside that collection, it iterates through them, and then it calls a specific transformer, which in turn transforms the data exactly to what the end user will get. You know, the person that consumes your API. So I've built different transformers, one for products, one for companies, and all that stuff. So I just needed to test them. And this test is relatively simple, so I just make sure that I have a certain amount of data into my database before I run the test. Yeah, I could use Faker. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No reason why not. I just didn't, Alexander. So I just have a record. I create some stuff here, you know, just using the unique ID. As Alexander says in the chat, you could easily use Faker or any other library. I create an individual here. I create an individual class, blah, blah, blah. So up until this point, I've just created some data. Right? I'm creating fixtures, if you like. And then I'm just going to have to figure out what I'm doing. It might seem very difficult to follow the code here, but this is pretty much how the data would come back, and that's how I need to test it. And the more you work with that package, if you're not familiar with it, the more you work with it, it becomes much simpler. This one is a big test, so to speak, because there's too many relationships between this particular object and others. That's why. So let me shrink this for a minute. All right. So all I have to do is I have to make sure that when I do create the collection here, and then I have the serializer, and then I have my transformer and all that stuff, I get a specific payload back, right? So that's how this thing is working. And then of course you have the assert equals in the end, just to see that everything works out fine. For the API, let's open the login. Let's open the get here. All right. So once the screen catches up, and I do see some delay with how it streams on YouTube. So excuse the long pauses. It kind of like throws me off. So what I want to do is I want to test whether my login works. Right. So every person will have to be logged in to the system to just do something. To request a resource. So login is really simple. It's a post to a login URL. As you can see here, I got a different class here. So data $: login URL. This is a really awesome feature that Codeception has. It's the page objects. So you can create a class that has certain static properties, public properties, and then you can hard code there certain things. For instance, a login URL, right? And instead of using /login all the time in your test, you use this constant. So when in the future you just decide to change your login URL, you don't have to go back and 100 tests and change things. And this is really good for keeping, let's say, for instance, you could be testing a login page. So in there you can create the IDs of the elements that you want to fill, HTML elements. So use that page object, and it's really, really awesome. So what I do here is I'm just saying, all right, I'm just going to try and log in as user and pass. Right? I just make sure that my response is successful. This is something that I wrote, and I'll explain what that does. And then I see error JSON response, right? And then underneath is just logging the known user. So you just see what data you get back. So in the API tester, I just say, all right, I create a new helper method for me. And I say, all right, well, whenever I call this, I need to make sure that certain things happen. Okay, so first of all, I need to see that the response that I got back is JSON, right? And then the second one is that the response code was 200. So HTTP code OK is 200. And then I also check whether the response that I got matches a specific JSON type. And you can see there's a little bit of a template here going on. So I need to have a meta with a timestamp and hash, a JSON API. And in here, I commented those out primarily because I didn't know how to do it. So the idea is that when you get data back, you're going to get either a data or an errors array element. So I didn't know how to do that. And then I have another method here that says check hash. And what that does is it actually takes the whole payload. It takes the date, and then it creates a hash, an SHA-1 hash between the encoded data and the timestamp versus, and compares it to the hash that you got in your response. And this is how you check the validity of the payload. It's something like the MD sum or something, the checksum that a lot of packages use. So just another thing for people to use. And then I have other functions here. Check if I have an error response. I can do a quick login with just this. I can see whether I have a JSON response here. Check if I got a 404, 400, and so on and so forth. All right, so different little helper methods that make my tests run easier as far as I'm concerned. I don't duplicate code. So you see here, this test, the login test, was a little bit different. I do send certain things that I know that they're true. I already have them in my database, and then I send in the post the login URL and the login JSON. Again, here's the page object from Codeception, and that does the whole magic. And then when I go to the get, let's say I'm going to get a company or something like that. Again, Alexander, I'm not using Faker. I just insert some random records in there. So up until here, um, sorry, I add a user record beforehand, so I'm doing some setup here, and then I do the login. I just log in there, and then I need to add a company record. So that calls the API/add, and then right after that, I just make sure that my header came back properly with authorization bearer, and then I do another get. This send get comes from the REST module of Codeception. And then I delete the header. I see that the response is successful. I see again that I have success JSON response with a key and. So this is pretty much how you do your integration. The most how you do your unit testing with Phalcon. The most difficult part that you will find is setting up Phalcon to work with your testing suite in your current environment. So for that, you have different avenues that you can take. Some people would like to use a virtual box or Vagrant for that matter, and then just set up the environment there and then use it in their local environment. Other users might choose to install all the packages that they need in their local environment and have access to it. That's a good approach. The problem is that once you start working on a second project or a next iteration of your current project that requires newer components, you have to upgrade your components. Then, lo and behold, your old code doesn't work. Nanobox, as I mentioned, is another alternative. It keeps everything nice and tidy in one containerized environment without interfering with your main application or other applications. Doesn't matter which one you choose. All you do is you make sure that you choose one method that you can run your application. The application can run with Phalcon being loaded. So that's pretty much the hardest part. After that, as a friend of mine used to say, sit your lazy butt on the chair and start writing tests. That's pretty much how it is. Any questions, guys, or? And I'm just catching up on Discord. I see Rude drinking the beer. Way to go, buddy. With a notebook somewhere in a sunny space. A sunny place, rather. So, Tag, what was that thing, the Drupal ice that you posted? RC, it's a vulnerability with Drupal. I'll have to read that a little bit later. So, I hope I didn't put everybody to sleep. Nice to have coffee. I've been talking too much, man. What's up with that? So we are 1 hour 37 minutes into this. Do you guys want to do a quick overview and then we can get into depth about running tests with Zephir code, or do you want to chit chat a little bit and then call it a day and then continue with the next Hangout? It's entirely up to you guys. Zephyr dev environment. So are you talking about creating, um, well, let me put it this way. Okay, Alex. So the all right, take care, Sumit. Tag Knife, do you want do you want to code in Zephyr, or do you want to code in Phalcon / new extension with Zephyr? Creating a Zephyr model. Okay. All right. I got it. Okay. In that case, I have to make a small adjustment. So stop this. You can see my ugly face. Where did the PHP store go? Okay. So what I'm gonna do now is rather quickly show you again PHP store, and this is my life, guys, so far, right? Again, nanobooks. So, it makes things a lot easier to code and to run tests. Okay, and I'm going to show you the example that I use for Phalcon when I develop in Phalcon. But that doesn't mean that you cannot use it yourselves in um, in your own implementations. Phalcon is, bear in mind, has a lot of modules, so and a lot of dependencies. So running Phalcon here in Nanobox requires a lot more than what you would if you wanted to do something in Zephyr. So all this code is in GitHub with v4 branch. So if you look at the box file, this would actually give you an idea of the what do I want to say, of the requirements that you would need. Okay, Sergey 4 for now, 4 monitors. So actually, hold on a second. Let me just see if I can do this. Let's take a picture of this. Hold on, guys. All right. So I'm gonna post it in Discord so that you guys can have it. If I can manage to do that. So where am I? General. Okay, it's still connecting. I'll post it in a minute. All right. Yeah. So Sergey, for I need to get 2 more, left and right, on the bottom part. Hold on a sec. That. And then guys, give me a sec. I'm just fighting my phone. There you go. For those that are interested in our general channel in Discord, that's my monitor setup for now. And you get an insight of how I do the Hangout. So the bottom right screen, for those that are interested, is the code I'm doing and showing. Left, I have Discord and some information that I might need from the web. Top left is the Hangout screen as it pops up, and top right is the YouTube channel. That's why I keep on saying that there's some delay. I see the delay on the right side, on the top right side. Okay, so I always want to get developing Zephyr some projects, find good info on development, building, writing Zephyr code. And Alex, yeah, it's easy with 2 eyes. I just know where things are, and I just change my where my face should go, so to speak, and where my eyes should turn in order to find the information that I need. Actually, it does help because of the I don't know if you noticed top left monitor. There's a little window with TV, so you can have the TV and playing there, or movies or sound or whatever. Yeah, of course, Rudy. Talking about the Discord, I do need two more monitors. I was thinking about the bottom side, the bottom row, just get one left and right. But yeah, I don't know. I have found though that I do run out of space, especially when I'm working for my current job where I have to spin up a Windows machine, and that one takes one monitor on its own. So that makes it a little bit difficult. I was never a fan of vertical 27s or any vertical monitors, Rudy. So anyhow, so enough with the monitors. So how do you work with Zephyr, right? And again, I'm using Nanobox as an environment, and I'm backing it 100% because it made my life much easier. As you saw, I already had the Phalcon API in one environment with different PHP implementation and different extensions. This is a totally different environment, and now here I can code in Phalcon, in Zephyr rather, for Phalcon. So this particular setup has a ton of extensions that I do need here. All right, and then if you keep on going, I do need certain packages. This is important because otherwise you're not going to be able to compile Zephyr or compile anything. Autoconf, free fonts, free type, font config, MySQL client meh, RE2C, yep, definitely. And this extra steps, again, have a look at the GitHub repository. This box file is in the v4 branch. You can see how you you compile the PSR4 the PSR extension and how you put it into your dev. Then intentionally, I just add this line so that when Phalcon gets installed or compiled, then it will be there. And then I have different options here, blah, blah, blah. Then the second most important line is get the Zephyr code. And that's where I get it. As you can see, I just made this change this morning. So we have 0.11.10, which is the latest and greatest version that has been released. And thank you, Sergey, for fixing all that stuff, as well as Dream and Alex and Dan and everybody that works on the Zephyr team. So if I have those two things, right, then my environment knows where Zephyr is. And with having Zephyr where it's supposed to be, I can start running my installation and running and compiling what I need to do. So in my case, I'm working on Phalcon, right? So if I do my little terminal here, so once I run, now you will see that this thing loads really quickly. It's because I already have it loaded. Okay. I don't think that this is going to be fast. But what I do is now that I'm in the Nanobox environment, I know that the Zephyr .far file is there. So if I type Zephyr, it will give me what? Ta-da! There you go, 0.11.10. Okay, so that's Zephyr right there. And what I could do is do Zephyr build. And what that would do is it would actually start scanning my folder, the /Phalcon folder, and it would start building the extension, the Phalcon extension. And you see those two errors that keep on coming. That's because we don't use sodium. This is for people that do use sodium for it. And lo and behold, a little bit later, I'm gonna see your extension has been compiled, and then I'm able to run it. I'm able to use it. So it's not difficult once you have the environment set up. That's the most difficult part, if you want to call it difficult, to do. The once you have the FAR file, then you can very quickly develop even without Nanobox. You can just download the FAR file, have it somewhere, have it executable. Of course, you will need PHP on your machine, but then all you do is just run the command to build it, to build the extension, and all you have to do after that is just run your tests. So, and I'll give you an example while this thing is compiling. All right, so my server request here, right? So I'm just looking at while this thing is compiling, I'm just looking at what this headers would do. It retrieves all messages for all message header values. The keys represent the header name as it will be sent over the wire, and each value is an array of strings associated with the header. Yeah, Komi, have a look at the. It is. Nanobox is not Docker Compose. It's kind of like a Docker Compose on steroids, trying to make things extremely easy for you to set up different environments. So imagine one thing. Let's say you created an application. Everything works fine. And you used PHP 7.1, but now your boss wants you to go to PHP 7.2. How can you possibly correct bugs in the current application, which is 7.1, and also adjust your code or test your code for 7.2 on the same machine? You can't. You have to have virtual machines to do that. Now, you definitely there are ways that you can do it. Don't get me wrong. My wizard friend Sergey has some crazy scripts that he flips over from one PHP version to another, in less than a command. But for us that are not superstars, like my buddy is, it's very easy and lazy to create one file, a YAML file, and then everything else is handled for you. So that's pretty much a rationale behind it. Tag, does zephir run on Windows? It should, I presume, but you need to have access to certain tools, and those tools are not available in Windows. So if you recall, I showed the you the fact that you need autoconf and all that, and RE2C. These have to be available in the environment, and Windows doesn't have those. It has different compilation parameters. Yeah, once you do what Sergey is saying, so to do the whole thing, to install your extension in Windows, once you go and do the compile, the PHP eyes, the configure, make, whatever, once you do all that stuff, then in order to build the extension and set it up, you're going to have to create the config.m4 file and then whatever. There's tons of things that you need to do. If you're looking at the Phalcon project, have a look at the build folder, and then have a look at PHP 7 64 bits, right? In there, you're gonna see 5 files. Those files are gonna be what would build your extension. And then you take those files, you put them in the PHP sources folder under the ext folder, under your extension folder, and then you run build conf, configure, and make in order to build your extension. Then that will be your DLL. So that gives you an idea. It gives you an idea what a pain in the rear it has been for us to just build one set of DLLs for one extension, for one architecture. So it would be you have to build NTS or non-NTS. You have to build 64-bit or 32 bits. And then you would have to build them for different versions. So for version 3 of Phalcon, we had to build for PHP 5.5, 5.6, and then 7, and so on and so forth. So that was a pain in the rear to just do them. Okay. So yeah, okay. This guy actually finished running. So there you go. You know, my extension has been rebuilt. So if I want to make a change here, I'm just reading this this little thing that says, okay, all the headers need to be here. Well, you know, I gotta go down and say, okay, if I want to get, where is it? Get header. This is what I need to do. I need to pick up the header, and it says retrieves a message header value by a given case-insensitive name. That's the pain in the rear. So this method returns an array of all the header values of a given case-insensitive header name. If the header does not appear in the message, this method must return an empty array. So, okay, so here's how you start. First of all, you just do this, return this. Okay, that's the empty array that you do. And then what you do is you go back to your test folder, and then you go back to your unit, HTTP, and message. This is the server request, and this is the get header. So where are we? Get header. So in this test, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new server request. Server request. Okay. Pretty much I don't need to pass anything to that. And then I do expected. Hold on a sec. Expected. Okay. Functional equals request header, and then I assert equals expected actual. And that's my first test. Get header, and then I'm gonna name this empty headers. And here, empty headers. Right, so we're naming the tests accordingly so that it's kind of like verbose. This one here is what is being displayed on screen, but if I didn't have the I want to test, the name of the test would have been what would be displayed on screen when you just run your suite. Okay, so all right, I'm just waiting for this thing to compile, and I just want to run this test just to show you. And then guys, we're pretty much gonna call it a Q&A before we hang up. We got 3 minutes before 2 hours. And as you can tell, my voice is getting a little bit scratchy. So, but I know what Sergey will say. You don't need to talk when you're coding, so get to work, that kind of thing. Oh, one thing that I forgot. Some recent and exciting news. Sergey has found a freaking awesome testing framework that GitHub uses. Shameless or Shunless or something like that. And he started using it for Zephyr. So we are getting a really good handle of how tests would run and how Zephyr tests are going through. So really excited about all these things. Okay, so this thing, yeah, that's just some random news. So when I want to run my test now, all I have to do here is, by the way, you didn't see the compilation here. I did it on a different window. So now I have my test. So go to zep code run tests. Tests. Oops. Unit HTTP message server request, and then get header.php. Get header assist. All right, so all right, I'll just switch window just to show it to you. Sadly, I have to stop and show different things because I cannot select a particular range that I can on my screens. It just takes the whole screen as a whole. Yeah, there you go. Sharpness, that's the one. So I compiled the installation. Remember, I just put the get headers to return an empty test. So now if I want to test this, put a set run -v vv whatever tests unit HTTP message stream, oh no, server request get header assessed. Oink. Come on, man. I will. Yeah, we're gonna go in a minute. Emilio, thank you for stopping by. Thanks everybody. I just want to show this last thing, and then we can just call it a day. So there you go. I'm running my test. I just put return empty, and then I wrote my test that it should return empty. And then based on the on what I see in the specification, from what I understand, this should actually return the header if you ask for it. So let's say you need the authorization header or the requested with or whatever header you have in your request. Then I'm going to create a test that would start by requesting this. Of course, this will, the way things are, it will be a fail test. And then I'm going to have to create one for the case insensitivity. And then again, it will be a fail test. And I'm going to put code into the Zephyr file and run it again. So that's test-driven development for you. All right. That's all there is to it, guys. That's our Hangout. Thank you so much, everybody, for stopping by. When you get a chance, have a look at the slides. There's going to be the resources here. And also, when you do get a chance, have a look at the issue that we have for the queue. and give us your thoughts about how we should proceed with that. Okay? So, adios, amigos. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much.